The don't lie rule, I think, is immediately related to this topic of postmodernism and owning your ideas. Um, I think it's going deeper than just telling the truth. He has he has been explicit about this. That one of his major ideas in his theory of knowledge is that he has a genetic account of knowledge, which means that you have to be able to embody your knowledge. You have to be able to make it click with all your different levels of consciousness, if you want to put it in the integral lingo. Knowledge for Peterson is not something abstract, but it's something that is embodied. And you can look up this idea in Mark Johnson and George Lakoff. This is to say, knowledge is a set of metaphors and of pictures that we use to make sense of reality. And we can be inauthentic in the sense that we are using concepts without truly understanding them, without really having made them fully transparent, and seeing what we're actually saying when we're using specific concepts. For example, you can use the concept causality without being fully aware of what it means. And you can use it as an explanatory principle without really being fully aware of what you're actually saying when you say that something causes something else. You have to reflect on the notion itself to make your own mind transparent, to make your own thinking transparent and better understand what you mean by the very concept. And it's not obvious. What do we mean by causality? What is causality? What is causality in integral theory, for example? It's very different from our everyday notion of causality or determinism. I think Peterson sees that one of the major problems we have as a society is that we don't own up the concepts in this way. We are not really questioning them philosophically and going deep to their ground to understand their metaphorical nature and how they are working. This, by the way, would be if you start to think in the archetypes. The archetypes are the basic structures of thought, the basic structures of meaning making. And this is a somewhat phenomenological endeavor. It's looking at your own consciousness and seeing how consciousness works, how you make sense of phenomena. And I think he's seeing that one of the major problems in our present day society is that we don't embody our knowledge in this sense. We don't make fully transparent our knowledge. And it starts out at universities already, or at schools already, where we teach children to simply repeat without truly make transparent and truly understand what they're actually saying. We see students use concepts that they simply don't understand. They know in what in context they can use a specific concept, but they're not fully aware of the meaning of these concepts. To Peterson, on the other hand, it's an imperative to make yourself consistent with the concepts you use and to become aware of your foundational concepts, or what he calls metaphysics. These are the most foundational concepts of how you think the world works. And learning this, you start by telling the truth. You start out very simple and you go as deep as possible. And deep here simply means is you look as deep as possible into your own mind, how your mind works, and try to be consistent with your metaphysical assumptions. So he gives this example. It would be an entirely different world if students were not simply repeating concepts, but were brave enough to admit that they don't understand something, and were brave enough to say that something is wrong according to their opinion. A lot of drama, I think, in our present day discourse, academic discourse, stems from the fact that people are being intimidated into agreeing with positions, or at least being silent and not taking a public stand. They're not willing to own up, at least publicly, defend their concepts. And this is something that we have to unlearn as a society. As a society, we have to learn to integrate our knowledge into our personalities, or the other way around, to create integrated personalities that are not distinct from their knowledge, but where their knowledge is an expression of themselves as persons. This seems to be a somewhat more interesting interpretation of this don't lie statement. And he has many references to this kind of interpretation in different passages of his work, where he really explicitly expects you to become fully aware of the workings of your mind, and to own your ideas. And owning your ideas in integral theory would simply mean that you learn to interpret ideas from different levels of consciousness. And the post-formal levels of interpretation, of course, are those where you have grasped the relationship between an idea, the structure of an idea, and the structure of reality. You're not simply repeating concepts, but you fully grasp where a specific concept is adequate, and in which context a concept is not adequate. And this is something that you see, that you experience. It's not something that you could learn by just following a specific rule.